Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin Lagore, and welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. We definitely appreciate you being here, and happy Friday. If you've never joined us before, thanks for being here. Like I said, we do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. These are generally live episodes at the time of their recording. And of course, like I said, these are recorded. So if there's anything you missed, or if you want to go back and check out an episode, just go back through the catalog and you can see what we've got. Now, these episodes are really here for educational purposes, something fun to do, and we appreciate everyone being here. Now, it is the first Friday of the month, which means we're checking out what's up in the nighttime sky, or just the sky in general, because there's also cool things to see during the day, which we will cover here. But if you like what we do here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If there's anything you want us to cover, or maybe you have a question that I didn't get to, you can email us at support@skywatcherusa.com. Just title it What's Up so we know it's the What's Up Webcast, and we'll be happy to get back to you on any questions or comments that you might have about our webcast. So, it's June. I don't know where the year went, but we're already halfway through 2021 at this point. And with June marks the coming of summer. Of course, June 21st, you have the summer equinox. I believe that's right. I think I might have screwed that up, but don't worry about it. But we do officially start summer this month. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming up into the nighttime sky as well. So let's first start off with the moon. The moon is the brightest thing in the nighttime sky, and of course many of us who are interested in deep sky objects like galaxies and nebulas, and we want to take awesome pictures or maybe go to that dark sky site to see something, we kind of want to know when the moon is going to be out of the sky so we can get the darkest skies possible. So the new moon, or the darkest portion of the month, is June 10th, so coming up next week. That's going to give you a dark sky weekend of the 12th and the 13th. So, in the not next weekend, but the weekend after that, if you're looking to get out to dark sky sites, that is going to be the weekend to plan for. Hopefully you're already planning for it. But June is an awesome month to start getting out and doing some deep sky observing because of all the cool things that are starting to rise in the sky as we transition from the springtime to the summer skies. And then, of course, the full moon, the brightest night of the month, is June 24th. So there you can actually plan your observing around those times. Now, speaking of the full moon this month, again, is June 24th, so end of the month. It is known as the strawberry moon, and most moons have a variety of different names. But this one is known for the ripening of strawberries around North America, generally where it gets its name from. A lot of the Native American tribes across the continent kind of refer to it as the strawberry moon, but there are other names as well. Whoops. So yeah, June 24th, that is the full moon for the month. Now, if you ever want to know where I get all these names from, and maybe you want to learn the history of full moons, and let me see if I can find it real quick. I meant to have this up earlier. There we go. But if you ever want to know about the full moon, impress your friends and stuff like that, I go to almanac.com/full-moons-names. That's the Farmer's Almanac right there. It tells you all the full moons, and it's got some cool history of each one, and it'll tell you the date and all kinds of cool stuff. So this is a cool website, especially if you're doing astronomy outreach and you want to tell people about the full moons and all of their history and the variety of different names that come with it. This is a great website. This is what I use to plan for the webcasts, to tell you about the full moon. So if you want to come here and learn some stuff about full moons and their names. This is almanac.com, and of course there's a bajillion ads that pop up on this website, but this is a really cool website to go to if you're looking for full moons and such. So there it is right there, almanac.com. You can go to astronomy, and it'll give you all kinds of stuff as well. So kind of a cool website to go to. Go ahead and check that out when you have time. Now, you probably saw there a minute ago that I skipped ahead to a slide, and you may have seen solar eclipse. That might surprise some of you, like, what is going on? There is indeed a solar eclipse this month. However, there's a caveat on where and when you can see it, just like any other eclipse. But I have seen some media outlets promoting this eclipse, and there is a portion of North America that's going to see it. So I just wanted to talk about that real quick so you can be in the know. So June 10th is the partial solar eclipse. A partial eclipse is where the moon just kind of glides in front of the sun. It doesn't completely cover it. But you will need solar filters for this type of eclipse. It could be those eclipse glasses. It could be, real full-fledged filters for your telescope. Really, any solar filter will work. If you want to know about solar filters, we did 2 or 3 episodes last October on the webcast. You can go back and actually take a look at that to see all kinds of information about solar filters and how to use them. But any type of solar filter will work. If you've got a hydrogen alpha filter, that might be kind of cool to take a look at. But it is a partial eclipse. Now, it is only visible in northern North America, Europe, and Asia. So some of you will be lucky enough to get it. We won't be able to see it for most of the U.S., but some of our friends up in like the Northeast, like Maine, New York. I don't know why I'm just telling you this, because I literally have the website right here. This is the path right here. So if you are in this orange zone right here, let's just get the 3D map up real quick. There we go. I wonder if we can there we go. Let's go full screen. If you are in this area of the world, you should be able to see this eclipse. This is timeanddate.com. This is a great website for eclipses because it tells you all kinds of stuff. But for North America, this is where you will, this is where you'll be able to see it. Now, the cool thing about time and date is, like you saw, I can actually click anywhere on the map, and it will actually tell you how much eclipse time you're going to get, how much coverage you're going to get, all kinds of cool stuff. So this is a really nice website to use. So Canada's going to get a big chunk, and then you get up into Newfoundland regions and stuff like that. You'll be able to get something up there. But yeah, Maine. So you got New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, all the northern area will be able to see this eclipse. But yeah, go to timeanddate.com, play around with it, find where you are and check out how much eclipse you're going to get. But even as far down as, the Carolinas, right there, you're going to get just a little bit. I believe that's at sunrise too, so a little bit might be a cool thing to go do if you're going to be out on the coast and you want to watch, sunrise. Might be kind of a cool thing to check out. Get a picture of the partial eclipse you can during sunrise. So something to think about. But that is coming up on June 10th is when you'll be able to see that. And again, if you want to know what it's going to look like for your area, timeanddate.com. Then you can go check. They have tons of stuff on eclipses, and but they've got these really nice models that you can use. So really, really neat stuff there. So check it out. And that's the eclipse. So good luck to any of you who are going to see it. We expect pictures. Do share them. If you shot them with a Skywatcher and you post them on social media, tag us on there with a hashtag or the little @ symbol. And then maybe we can share it on our social media platforms as well. But we do expect to see some cool stuff out there, so we encourage pictures. So that's it for the eclipse. Good luck for all those who are going to get it. Planets. Planets right now are kind of sparse in the evening. Right now, Mercury is still out there. I'm going to pull up our star map here real quick. This program is called Stellarium. If you're not familiar with it, I'm sure many of you are. It's a really nice freeware. You can download. You can do telescope control with it. All kinds of stuff, but it's a pretty nice program for being a freeware, and you can kind of mess around and see how the planetarian programs work. But I've been pretty impressed with it. So we just use it because it's readily available and it's easy to use. So right now in the western part of the sky, just after dumb trees in the way. Of course, even in a software, the dumb tree is in the way. Can you believe it? I'm gonna have to digitally hack that out of there. So let me go ahead and find. Mercury is not in an ideal position right now for viewing. It's very low. It's so low, in fact, that it doesn't even come up visually. There it is, right there. So Mercury right now is about halfway between Venus and the Sun right now. It is making its way back down towards the Sun. Venus never comes up. I'm sorry, Mercury never comes up very high. You could probably get a better view of it during the day if you have a mount that's really accurately aligned and it can find it. You can get a good view of that. If you want to image it during the day, I recommend like an IR pass filter to block out all the crazy glare and help the light come through. But Mercury is always going to be a challenge. It's always going to be small. So if you're trying to get it in the evening, you have a very limited window to catch it. So we're kind of losing Mercury. It was only here for a little bit, and now it's making its way out. So as the evening progresses, I mean, right after sunset, Mercury is following suit to setting as well. However, that's Mercury for you right there. However, there is Venus. Venus, we are actually getting more of it. It's starting to rise higher into the sky. So here is Venus right now. That's this is for the second. Oh, there we go. There's the fourth. Now, as the month progresses, why on this? As the month progresses, you can see Venus is going to start rising higher and higher into Gemini. We do get kind of a conjunction with a razor thin crescent moon and Venus. This is on the 11th of June. So it might be a cool photo op. These are just over, right, or maybe just over 3 degrees from each other. So it's not a super close conjunction. But if you've got a telephoto lens, like a 200 or 300 millimeter, you should be able to catch these together. So it might make for a cool photo op if you can catch them. Again, this is on the 11th, just after sunset in the west. So kind of a cool object or little collection of objects to see. And as you can see, the 12th, the moon is rising higher into Gemini, and it's far enough away from Venus where it's not really a thing. But I guess if you had a wide enough lens, you could still get a cool thing of that. But continuing on, we do see as we move into the end of the month, Venus is getting higher and higher into the sky. It should be becoming, it's technically the evening star right now, but it'll become much more apparent as it rises higher that you'll probably get friends asking, what's that weird thing in the western sky? Is it a UFO? No, it's the planet Venus. But it'll be coming that big, bright, blazing object after the sun goes down as we go further into the month of June. So that is the planet Venus right there. Let me backtrack to today. There we go. So that's it for Stellarium for right now. So that's Venus. Go ahead, check it out. Big, bright thing. Can't miss it. It still doesn't have much going on for it right now, but it's still something cool to see. Mars. Mars is still hanging out up in the evening sky as well. It's sitting a little bit higher. It's not dark enough in there. There it is. It's actually not. It's just inside of Gemini. at this point. So Mars is still out there. We still occasionally get emails of people writing in saying, I looked through my telescope at Mars and the view wasn't very good. I think there's something wrong with my telescope. No, your telescope is fine. Mars is just not in an ideal position right now to view. It's been moving away from us since the end of last year. It's just not in an ideal position. You can try to look at it. It's going to look like a little red ball, which is kind of cool to show your friends. It's still neat to see, but if you're looking for detail on the planet, it is just not in an ideal position any longer to really get that detail. You might be able to see some stuff, but because of how small the planet's going to appear, even at high magnification, you'd be lucky to get like dark detail on the planet. But it is far from ideal, nowhere near what it used to be at the end or fall of last year when it was at its closest approach. So if you're looking for a good view of Mars, you're honestly going to have to wait until next year, 2022, to get a good view of Mars, because it's just not in a good spot anymore. So your telescope's fine. It's just Mars is not in a good spot anymore. So we're losing that. By the end of the month, Mars is going to be, I guess there's a cool photo op if you want, right there. Again, on the 11th, the 13th, I'm sorry. You can get a crescent, nice little crescent moon and Mars hanging out there. Another photo op if you want to try for it. Be a little bit darker. Maybe you can get a longer exposure and get that Earth shine on the moon there. Kind of cool photo op. So that's on the 13th. Maybe just after 8 o'clock, that would be ideal to go out and hit that. Maybe with like a 100 to 400 zoom lens, 200, 300 millimeter optic, maybe get a good shot of that. So cool little pairing right there. But as you can see, as we approach the end of June and moving into July, probably by the end of July, Mars will be gone out of the sky until 2022 at this point. So it's going to go hang out by the sun, and we just won't be able to see it. But Mars is not in an ideal position, but it's still there. It's still a cool planet. If you're looking to share a cool view with people, why not? Point it out. It's a planet. But that's pretty much it for our evening sky of planets. So, we will start to get some of the brighter, like Jupiter and Saturn, will start to make their way back probably as we approach the fall. Normally the webcast, I normally just try to work this for before midnight viewing. Maybe you just got home from work, you want to show your family some stuff. Probably going to be done before midnight, roughly. So that's what the webcasts are really aimed for, is that sunset to midnight time frame-ish. But that's it for the planets. There's just not a lot going on right now with planets. There's some cool ones out there, but you don't have the big ones. The sun. I say the same thing about the sun every month. I actually don't even change the slides because it's the same thing. The activity on the sun is increasing. It is slow. But the thing about the sun is I can't make a dedicated slide for it because it's always changing. Every minute it's changing. It's super dynamic, which is really cool in comparison to most objects in the night sky, which are very static. They don't change all that often. You look at the Orion Nebula and it's the same thing it looked like last year. While cool and we appreciate all of that, it's the same thing. However, the sun is a very dynamic object. So rather than sit here and try to keep things up to date, you can go to this website. This is, I just Google GONG, G-O-N-G-H alpha into Google, and it takes me right to the site, NSO, National Solar Observatory. This is 7 different solar telescopes across the world using hydrogen alpha filters that are giving you live, up-to-date images of what's going on in the sun. This is what I like to use to see if it's worth lugging out all the solar telescopes to take a look. So let's take a look at what the sun looks like right now. There's actually a decent big prominence hanging out over there. We still have some sunspots and active regions. There's one over there. Another region down here. And then, of course, we have another set of proms, a little bit of filament right here. So, the fact that there's a sunspot over there might be worth taking out and taking a look at it this weekend if you need something to do. This sunspot's probably almost done with its transition across the disk, but there's some activity going on up there. So, it's definitely worth taking a look at. This is a great website to go to because it's going to keep you up to date on what's going on. Here's a higher resolution shot, but this is about 8 hours old since Australia is at night right now. But you can see there's a fair amount of detail up on the sun right now. It's definitely worth taking a look at. If you've got a hydrogen alpha filter, you'll be able to see all the prominences. If you just have a white light filter, then you're just going to be looking at sunspots. So something cool to see. But the sun is ever changing. It's a great object to observe, especially now as the activity starts to ramp up over the next couple years. It's a cool object to image as well as sketch. I have a lot of friends who enjoy sketching. The nice thing about sketching is it trains your eye to really look for the fine, subtle details in an object. And there's something about it that a lot of people tend to like. I haven't done it myself, but from those I have talked to who do or have done it before, it's really helped their observing as well because you're really taking your time to look. What I find a lot, especially as someone who does outreach for the public, you have people come up, you look through the eyepiece, wow, that's really neat. 5 minutes later, you're gone. But if you actually take your time to look and observe and enjoy what you're looking at, you can actually start to see kind of subtle details and stuff. And that's kind of where sketching is kind of a cool thing to do. So the sun is a fun one to do because there's lots of detail inside of there that you can check out. So if you want to know what's going on in the sun, maybe you don't have time to just run out there and assume everything's going, there's something cool to see. Google GONG, G-O-N-G-H alpha, and it'll take you to this page, and then you can see what's going on without having to lug all your gear out at first. I know that's my problem. My stuff is never set up when something cool happens. Go figure. So this is what I'll check to see if there's something cool going on. So hopefully that helps you. Meteor showers. It's June, which means there is nothing going on for meteor showers. It's just June doesn't have any major meteor showers in it at all. You might catch some shooting stars here and there, but there's just nothing going on for meteor showers. Now we are approaching August, where you get the Perseid meteor showers, which is the biggest one of the year, and we'll talk about that here as we get into August, of course. I think July's got some stuff, but yeah, June, nothing. So that's kind of it for meteor showers, unfortunately. So, comets. I didn't originally put comets in here, but then I had some people asking about it. Whoops, fast. Comets are ever changing as well. So I like to go to this website, cometchasing.skyhound.com, and it lists all the currently visible comets. Now, when you're on this website or you're looking for comets, it's going to say there's a lot of different visible comets. However, you want to see how faint we're talking about. So this is the list of everything. And then you come down here, and it'll give you a breakdown of all the listed comets. And it's going to tell you how dim it is. So right now we have one in Buddhist, magnitude 10.5, so within reach of like an 8 or 10-inch telescope, probably 6 inch as well. Go to the Finder chart, which is really kind of neat. It's going to pull this. This is a really great website for locating comets. When it wants to load correctly, there we go. So this is where it's going to be. It's not far. It's like around Virgo area. But this is going to be the path of that comet. So if you want to find C2020 T2 Palomar and your telescope, it's probably going to be more of an imaging target if you want. It's probably not going to be a striking comet right now, but something to see. Let's see what the notes say. Each period in July, major brightness of, okay. So it's not going to get much brighter than 10.5, which means it's not going to be a very bright comet at all. You will need a telescope to see this. A decent telescope, probably at least a 6-inch. I do it in a 4 or 5-inch if you know what you're looking for. And it's probably just going to look like a little fuzzy. So that one's okay for the Northern Hemisphere. 2020 J1. Usually they label it from best to, easiest to hardest is how they generally do it. So T2 Palomar, that's an evening comet. 7P, it's a morning comet. And you want to pay attention to the latitudes here because it's not going to be visible in all latitudes. Like you can see this one, if you're really north, you're not going to get it at all. 40 degrees, you'll be able to see it. But this one is 11.8 magnitude, which is even fainter, obviously, than 10.5. So at 11.8 magnitude, you're probably going to want about an 8-inch telescope or so to catch it. Dark skies will always help. And it's in Sculptor. And yeah, so this one's going to be kind of in the south part of the sky. So that's why it's going to be harder to see in northern latitudes because it's near Aquarius, Capricorn, and it's moving further south as the month goes on. So this one, you could try it for fun, but this one will be a little bit of a challenge to catch as well. And as we go on, you're looking at almost 13th magnitude, almost 14th magnitude, 16th magnitude. You're getting really faint at that point. So there's not any major comets for the northern hemisphere right now. Now, if you're in the southern hemisphere, there's a bunch of other stuff in here that you can go check out too. But for the northern hemisphere, there's just not a lot of major comets that we're going to see. This one right here, though, looks interesting. C2017 K2 Pan-STARRS. It's saying predicted to reach maximum brightness of 6.5. That's just inside visual. Usually, the limiting magnitude for the human eye in a dark sky is 7. So if you're at 6.5, this one you might want to keep an eye on. That one looks kind of interesting as we get into January 2023. I know that's a ways out, but just that would be one that I would keep an eye out for. Looks interesting. But this is changing all the time, so it's worth definitely checking out if you can. So that's the comets for June. There's just not a lot going on right now. But where there is stuff going on is deep sky. We're in the transition time. I was out last night kind of prepping for this evening, and June's kind of weird. I usually go to the Grand Canyon Star Party in June, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And June's kind of a weird month because in the early evening, you still have all the spring objects are still up. You still have Leo, Virgo, Coma Berenices, all those big galaxy regions are still visible. But as the evening gets later, we transition into the night, into the summer objects. So June's kind of strange because it's not strange, it's actually kind of cool because if you're really into deep sky observing, you've got a big plate of galaxies to work with in the early evening, and then you transition to a lot of that eye candy stuff later in the evening as the summer skies rise and all those big constellations like Sagittarius, Scorpio, and Hercules and Cygnus and all of them rise, and then you of course get the Milky Way coming up. So June normally marks the serious start of Milky Way season. I know there's a lot of nightscape photographers that say, yay, it's Milky Way season. Well, the winter is Milky Way season too. It just depends on what part of the Milky Way you want to look at. In the summertime, you get the summer Milky Way where we're looking into the core of the galaxy like you're seeing here. That's where you're going to get all those, crazy pictures. And then, of course, the winter, we're looking away from the core of the galaxy, but you still get all these cool objects in the winter Milky Way. So there's 2 Milky Way seasons technically, but the summer Milky Way, of course, is the most eye-catching. But of course, you're going to need to get to dark skies if you want to see this. This is the view from Grand Canyon a couple years ago at Mather Point. Beautiful night sky there with some clouds catching some of the distant cities out there. It looks like fire. And then Mars peeking its head out over the clouds right there. So if you're into nightscape work, the new moon, which is on the 10th, it's time to load up your sky trackers and your cameras and your lenses and head out to a dark sky site. And normally just before midnight or so, we can start catching the Milky Way, which we can simulate right here. We're looking, where's east? Sorry, there we go, east. Normally Cygnus and Scorpio are kind of the markers for that. Vega, the big bright star Vega, is normally letting you know that Milky Way season, summer Milky Way season is coming. So this is about 8:30. 8:30, the Milky Way is right underneath the horizon. But as the night progresses, that big, nice Milky Way is going to start rising out there in the east. And by 11 o'clock, midnight, it's going to be well positioned to get some cool stuff. And then, of course, by 2 in the morning, it's going to be straight overhead, which will be easier to get in July at a more convenient time, which we'll talk about. But right now, but you can still catch it in the pre-midnight hours for June, and that's going to get easier, of course, as the month progresses. It's going to start rising more and more, but then, of course, you're also going to have to deal with the moon, which will affect that. So right now, if you want to get out and start looking at the Milky Way, probably plan on around 9 o'clock or so. Let's see. Yeah, about 9 o'clock it starts rising. So if you want to get a cool nightscape picture of it rising behind something, about 9:30. And then obviously as you move into 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you've got some good positioning of that Milky Way rising in the eastern part of the sky. But you will need good dark skies to see that. So there you go. It's Milky Way season. Now, with that, there's another object that kind of comes up before the Milky Way, and it's visible right now. It's a fun one that you can do from home, and of course that is M13, the Hercules star cluster. This is a massive cluster of stars. It's one of the best ones we can see from the northern hemisphere. Of course, it's in the constellation of Hercules. That's the name. About 22,000 light years away. You can see this naked eye from a dark sky. It looks like a little fuzzy patch floating up there. It gets really high in the sky for most of North America, so it's easy to catch. You've got a lot of time to observe it, and because it goes through straight up around zenith, it means it's in a really good part of the sky to capture some images of it and really look at it because it's out of all the muck and the lower atmosphere. So this is naked eye visible. Really, it's visible in any size optic. Binoculars, you can get a little fuzzy out of it. A decent little 3-inch telescope will make it look like a cluster. And then, of course, if you've got some serious aperture, you can resolve it all the way down to the core and get this little galaxy that kind of hangs out back there around M13. But it's a really impressive object all the way around. Now, there is a really cool little detail inside of M13. I don't know if you can see it, but there's this three-pronged, I guess you could say, little dark structure in here. It's just the way the stars kind of work out. It's called the propeller. That's kind of a cool detail that you can actually see inside of M13. So if you've got like a 6 or 8 inch or bigger telescope and you're on M13, try to see the propeller inside of M13. Kind of a neat little detail in the cluster. It is a fun object to image. It's very easy to image. Globular clusters do really well in light polluted skies because it's just stars. So you don't need any fancy filters, just a light pollution filter, and go ahead and give it a shot. A pretty neat cluster right there to check out. And it is visible from the backyard from most places, and it's easy to find. Here's Hercules. Let's put it about 8:30. You want to go out with the kids before bed. Hercules is rising in the eastern part of the sky, and it is right there. There it goes. That is where M13 is. The easiest way to find M13 is to actually find, here's Vega, and just above Vega, you'll have Hercules. And Hercules, the body of Hercules is marked with 4 stars. We call it the keystone. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, makes a box. And it is the western side of Hercules where it sits. If you're in a dark sky, the best way to find it is to locate the keystone of Hercules, find Corona Borealis, the northern crown. You take this, loop it around, and it basically, if you follow the loop, it points you right to where M13 is, sitting on the western edge of the keystone there on Hercules. Or you can just use a go-to telescope and have it find it for you. But that's how you star hop to M13. Very easy object to see. It's fun to see at home, and then it's spectacular in a dark sky site. So give that a try. This was taken in my backyard. This was a C14 with a hyperstar. And the image speaks for itself. So very little work on that, but it's easy to get a nice shot of M13. So go out, try it out. Next one, M106. M106 is in Canis Venactices. It's a galaxy, spiral galaxy. It's got a lot of intricate detail inside of the galaxy, as well as these outer arms. It has a pretty active center in the galaxy. I believe there's a black hole in the middle of M106. If you can image it right, while you can see these outer wisp arms, there's these really intricate, you can't see them here obviously, but there's really intricate red arms as well, and that's material that's being pulled into the black hole inside of M106. It's a very cool galaxy, lots of detail to see inside of there, so definitely worth checking out. As an imager, it's definitely an interesting object to capture right now. Visually, it's still stunning. You can get some cool detail in the spirals in a dark sky site. The bigger the telescope, the easier it is to see that, and of course some of the small galaxies that sit inside of the field. If you're looking to image it, I'd probably say about 700 millimeters or longer to frame that up nicely. But that's M106, which we can go ahead and find right here, M106. And M106, we're still in a good position for M106, so if you want to take an image on it, it's just past meridian, so you don't have to worry about meridian flips if you're on an equatorial. Right after dark, you're ready to go. It's on it's setting. It's on the western side of the meridian. So let's see. It's about 8:30, so 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30. You can get several hours of exposure time. You can produce a whole beautiful image on M106 before you actually lose it into the crappy part of the sky. So if you're looking for an object that you can get a nice image of before midnight, complete data set, try M106. It's got a lot of cool detail in there. It's already on the western side, so you don't have to worry about a meridian flip, and you're probably looking at about 3 to 4 hours of time to capture it. So kind of a cool object to check out, but M106, that would be a recommendation for me. On the opposite side of the sky, rising in the constellation of Lyra, not far from that big bright star, Vega, you have the popular Ring Nebula. This was the first planetary nebula I ever saw. Hunted it down with a little 6-inch Newtonian from my backyard. It's an easy one to star hop to. If you've got a telescope for the holidays and this is like your first summer with your telescope, this is a really cool one to see because you can generally see it from an average backyard with like a 6-inch telescope. It's a good one to learn how to star hop to. You could use go-to as well, but the Ring is a real fun one to see because it looks like a little Cheerio that just pops into the view there. So it's a great one to see even from a light polluted backyard. If you're ever in a dark sky site and you have access to a big telescope, you can try the Central Star Challenge, where you're trying to see the center star. That's a 15th magnitude star, so you're talking about at least a 14-inch telescope. If you get like a 20-inch or bigger on it, it's even better. You get some serious aperture, like a 25-inch telescope on this thing. It's awesome because there's all kinds of detail inside of the Ring Nebula. If you're an imager, I'd probably say about 700 millimeters or longer. It's tiny, so you're going to need some image scale to blow it up. This is where you want to make sure that your pixels are kind of matched to your seeing conditions too, to get the sharpest image on there. So, pay attention to that. If you are imaging, what I don't have in here is the Ring Nebula has an outer halo of hydrogen, which I don't have an image of right now, but you can find it. So if you're looking to image this, especially in color, do your red, green, blue, but then go back and do a hydrogen alpha run of exposures and add that. And there's this outer edge. It comes out about this far, as you can see on the cursor here. There's this outer halo on M57 that you can actually capture in image. You can't see it visually, it's too faint, but with a camera you can actually catch it. So it's a pretty neat one. And just to make sure we're all doing the same thing here, this is where M57 is, the Ring Nebula. It's up by about the time it gets dark. You'll see Vega nice and bright rising in the east. It's pretty easy to find though. So this is Lyra the Harp. Find Vega. Vega is a magnitude 0 star. It is naked eye visible. It's one of the brightest summer stars in the sky. Find Vega. Then you'll see the little collection of stars, the 4 stars here. You'll find these 2 stars that are furthest away from Vega, and it's about halfway between those 2 stars. There you go. That's how you star hop to M57. But it's a really cool one to see. If you're just starting to get into deep sky, it's a really good start object, and it introduces you to planetary nebulas, which are one of my favorite objects to see because they're just kind of fun. Now, talking about planetary nebulas, the next one that's actually rising a little bit later is down in Vulpecca, and now we're starting to talk about probably about 10 o'clock. You'll start to see the famous Dumbbell Nebula. There. There we go. There is the Dumbbell Nebula. Now, Vulpecca. Dumbbell Nebula is about 1,360 light years away. This is an awesome planetary. It's viewed differently than the Ring Nebula from our perception on Earth. So the Ring Nebula, we're looking right down the center, like looking through a donut. The Dumbbell Nebula, we're looking at it from the side. So it's kind of neat to see 2 different planetary nebulas in different orientations. So that's the Dumbbell Nebula. This is easy to see in a light polluted location. If you're using some filters, I would recommend like a UHC filter would be a nice one if you're in a light polluted location. That can help. Probably a 6-inch telescope or bigger is what I'd recommend. In a dark sky site, you can actually see this in a 50 millimeter finder scope. A pair of binoculars could catch the Dumbbell Nebula. But as you get bigger, more detail comes out. Now, it is a really cool object to image. There's a lot going on in the Dumbbell Nebula. This is a bicolor image, so it's taken with hydrogen alpha and oxygen 3. The dumbbell usually is just this part right here. It kind of looks like an apple core, that apple that's been eaten at, but it has these wings that you can see out there, and those are generally visible in oxygen 3 or in the blue channel. With today's modern cameras, it's not too difficult to bring that detail out, but if you're imaging from home, adding some oxygen 3 data will pop that out. Your luminance data in a dark sky site should be able to show it too. And really any focal length is going to work, any regular focal length will work on this. This was taken with an Esprit 120 with our new focal reducer and a 694 Starlight Express camera. And that's the field of view. It worked out, framed out really well on that. But if you're looking for a little bit of a challenge, go ahead and try to image the Dumbbell Nebula and then try to pull out the outer wings there with some longer exposures, narrowband detail. and just try to take a look at it. It's a real cool object to actually view. And that's coming up a little bit later right now. Like I said, it's about almost 10:30, 11 o'clock is by the time that would be high enough to see. So we're just kind of in the window of how we do it. There's a lot of cool objects I want to talk about, but they just don't quite make it into the time frame that I try to hit for the webcast window when we're talking about this. So July will be packed full of crazy stuff. So of course, if you still like globular clusters, we still have M3 that's up in Canis Venactices. That's really easy to see right now. This is great in a dark sky. You can still catch it from a light polluted sky. Really, any size optic is going to see. It's not as big and bright as M13 that we talked about earlier, but it's a lot more dense. It's got a real solid core of stars right there. It doesn't expand out as far. It is further from us at 33,920 light years from the Earth. So, about 10,000 light years or so further than M13. But it's a fun one to check out. It's an easy one to image. So that's a cool one to see as well. Just let's pop this back to around 8:45. M3 search. It's nearly overhead. So it's actually straight overhead, which M13, it kind of leads M13 along the same path. So M13's down here, M3's right here. M3 is kind of like the first major globular cluster of the season. Yay! Here comes all the globulars. It's a good one to check out as well, and it's in a really good position right now if you want to image it or view it right after it gets dark. It's at zenith, so you can get a really nice, awesome view of it, especially from a dark sky site. There's still a ton of galaxies out there. Probably the most popular one right now would be NGC 4565, the Needle Galaxy. This thing is huge. It's an awesome edge-on galaxy. That is wrong. It is not 33,900 light years away. So that's a typo on my part. Let me just look this up real quick so I can correct that. I want to say it's about 25 million light years away. And the verdict is 39 million light years away. So, my bad. So, 39 million light years away from the Earth. Scratch that. This is really good to see in an 8-inch or 200 millimeter telescope or bigger. It's a great imaging target. You can do it from home pretty easily. On a dark sky site, it's very impressive. Large telescopes viewing this visually, like a 20-inch, the dust lane on that is crazy. But this is a really cool object to see if you want to start going into a little bit more advanced, a little bit more off the beaten path from like the Messier catalog. NGC 4565 is an excellent object and a great galaxy to hunt down right now while it's still nice and high in the sky. It's probably an absolute must for anybody, and anybody who sees it, it's not far from M3. It is, almost straight overhead. So right as you get to dark, if you want to do some imaging, it's a good target to get because you've got about, 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 complete hours on this object before it gets too low. I'd probably say 4 hours. So you could produce a nice image of this object in like one night starting tonight. You can get all the data that you'd need in one night, essentially, because it's right overhead and you've got a ton of time to catch it in the northern hemisphere. So that would be another great object to check out. It's a really good position right now to get a decent run on stuff. Okay, I need to hurry up here. I'm running out of time. One of the jewels of the summer, 2 of the jewels actually, because you can actually get them together, M8 and M20. These objects actually probably deserve their own slides, but you have M8, the Lagoon Nebula, and M20, the Trifid Nebula. They look like they're actually one and the same, but the Trifid Nebula is about 1,200 light years behind the Lagoon Nebula. This is an amazing region because it's just packed full of stars. These are star-forming regions. The Trifid has a cool dark lane. Here's a bigger picture. This was taken with an Evo Guide 50 ED. in our flattener. Real cool region of the sky. It's a 2-panel mosaic, as you can see there. Not as sharp as it should be. Thanks, Facebook. But really cool image to see there. It's a great set of objects to capture. So definitely worth checking out. And these are going to be late in the evening. You got to wait almost to about 11 o'clock midnight to start catching these. These are up in Sagittarius right there. So Scorpio is going to come up, and the core of the Milky Way comes up, and then these two are sitting right next to each other just above north of Sagittarius. This is a really complex region because you're looking right into the core of the Milky Way. All kinds of stuff is going on there. There's a ton of other objects that we'll talk about in July. I could do a whole hour presentation of just the objects that are visible in this region of the sky. It's ridiculous. But that is M8, the Lagoon, M20, the Trifid, two awesome objects to actually go out and observe. Easy to see from a light polluted sky, really impressive in a dark sky site. So go ahead and check it out. Now, I left this one in there because it's still in season. This would be the challenge object for the month. This is 3C273, constellation in Virgo. It's 2.5 billion light years away. This is a quasar, or an active galaxy. This is a cool one to show your friends and impress your friends because it's just way the heck out there. I call them concept objects because there's not much to see. It's not this big grand nebula looking thing. It's just a point of light. But the fact that it's so far away, it's really cool to see. And this is an image taken from the backyard, 6-inch refractor. But it's kind of a cool one to check out. But here's how you find it. So once you get on the field, you're going to find this little arc of 4 stars here. And that is here's the arc right there. That arc is then going to point you to this little diamond of stars with the brightest one in the bottom. And then once you find that, right next door there's a little triangle of stars there. And this is important because this is where we're getting onto the target. And then, of course, the lower portion right there is 3C273. That is the quasar right there, 2.5 billion light years away. It's easy to do in a 10-inch. I've done it in a 10-inch in moderately dark skies. It's not that faint. You could almost do this in a backyard visually with a big enough telescope. Imaging, it's easy to do, but again, there's not a lot to see on it. It just looks like a little point of light. But the fact that you're looking 2.5 billion light years away is nuts. So, and then it introduces you to quasars, a very fun select of objects to take a look at. And just real quick, just to be a completist, 3C273, this is in Virgo. There you go. That's where it is right there. You can get it from about time it gets dark. So yeah, right around 8:30 or so, till about almost midnight. It's visible. So at least from here in Arizona, most of the U.S. it should be about the same. But kind of a cool one to check out. That's 3C273 in Virgo. That is a quasar. So one of my favorite objects to show just because of how far away it is. All right. That's pretty much it for this week. If you like what we do here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It does help us out. We are getting ready to release our new schedule for July, August, and September, so you go ahead and keep an eye out on that. If you ever want to see anything, go ahead and email us at support@skywatcherusa.com and just title it "What's Up?" and let us know what you think. Maybe there's an episode we should do. Let us know. I have had people ask me if I'm going to be doing any more virtual star parties, and this week, starting tomorrow night, is the Grand Canyon, the virtual Grand Canyon Star Party. Unfortunately, it's not taking place in person. It's just not quite time to get around a big group of people from all over the world. So they are doing it virtual again this year. I am one of the presenters. These are the nights I will be presenting. We also have the main organizers, Tucson Amateur Astronomy Association, will be doing 3 nights, and then Lowell Observatory will be doing one night from their new observing deck observatory. But if you want to join us, these are the nights I will be doing live webcasts, and that will be on the Grand Canyon National Park and Focus Astronomy Facebook pages. We'll be streaming live from an Esprit 150 triplet refractor from a dark sky site. It's going to be awesome. It starts at 9 p.m. Pacific, and it's just a live stream. It'll be very similar to like what we're doing here, except we'll be hooked up to a big, awesome telescope. If you want to know more about the schedule of that, here is the full breakdown. There's some really cool presenters that are before any of the telescope stuff. So, like right here, you'll see the schedules, and here's where everything's going to be. This is on the Grand Canyon National Park page. You're talking about Mars 2020, the Perseverance rover, tomorrow night speaker. They have a lot of cool Native American speakers talking about the astronomy, folklore, history of Native American tribes this year. So very cool stuff. I don't want to butcher the name there. Paiute. I'm sorry. Southern Paiute Astronomy on Sunday. Puebloan Views of the Stars on Monday. Ancestral Pueblo Sun Calendars on June 8th. Zuni on June 9th. Just you're talking about the Hopi tribes on the 10th. Just a ton of cool stuff this year. They've gotten a really eclectic group of speakers. And then, of course, following those 7:30 talks, there'll be the different live telescope viewings. So hope to see you there. At least one of them. Definitely check it out. There's 8 nights starting tomorrow night on the Grand Canyon National Park Facebook page. And then if you want to join me on one of those, these are the dates I will be hosting those live. So, and then next week, we're talking about our EvoStar doublet series. We're going to take a real close look at the entire line of them from our 72 millimeter all the way up to the 150. So that is next week's episode on the What's Up webcast. And then, of course, if you want to, maybe you need some swag for Skywatcher, we do have our skywatcher.threadless.com. You can get shirts and hoodies and all kinds of stuff. We will be adding more art here soon. So go ahead and check that out. Got all kinds of cool stuff there on the skywatcher.threadless.com. Shirts and all that fun stuff there. So go ahead and check that out if you're looking for some swag. So anyway, that's about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this week. Definitely have clear skies. Hopefully to see you guys next week. And take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. See ya.